ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على السلام حي على السلام حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي على رسولنا محمد صلوات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. So inshallah, for this khutbah, I would like to reflect on this verse from the Quran. Part of this verse emphasizes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created human beings in different tribes, in different languages, so that they would know each other, so that they can know each other. So in a way, it is a verse that welcomes, that emphasizes diversity. And also part of this diversity, it relates to relations. How can we really meet the message, the teaching of this verse in the Quran when it says, I created human beings in different cultures, in different languages, so that they would know each other. So the point that I would like to make is, throughout the khutbah, is to make our life relational as much as we can. That how we can make our life relational, why it is important based on this Quranic verse. And generally, if you look at the practices of Islam, one of the most important things, the rituals, you see that the rituals are very relational. Just think of the prayer, right? We are in the Jum'ah, the Khutbah. You pray together, right? I know that even those who would come once a while to the Khutbah, for them it is a good way to see many Muslim brothers and sisters together. It is a good way. You barely see kind of the community together outside of Jum'ah. So this is the best way that you can to do ta'aruf, to get to know each other. And just also thinking the daily prayers, right? Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have many hadiths that emphasizes how it is important to do prayers communally, right? To do prayers together. If you think of, for example, fasting Ramadan, the same thing. It is very communal, relational, and one of the best, the most beautiful thing in the Ramadan that the community come together and they iftar together. So it is relational. If you think of Hajj, right? The pillars of Islam. If you think one of the pillars of Islam, similar way, Hajj pilgrimage. You see the emphasis is also relational, right? It brings Muslims from all over the world to get in touch, right? Likewise, zakat, right? The other pillar of Islam. And again, there is a strong emphasis on charity in relations, right? What is, it is in a way to mend relations in the society, those who are in need, right? You need to make relations, have good relations in order to be aware of those who are in need so that you can give your zakat. So the idea though, if you look at the 5 pillars of Islam, there is so much emphasis, or it's just so much connected to relations. This is one of the best way to have healthy relations. And I mean, first, as a believer, as Muslims, for us, when you observe these rituals, these practices, it will be a good way also to promote relations, to have individual, personal relations. And the idea also, if you look at the tradition of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is lots of emphasis on the idea of being aware of your surroundings, right? For example, there is lots of emphasis teaching on how to be a good neighbor, right? Good neighbor, take care of your neighbor. You should know what is your neighbor is going through, right? That hadith says that you should help, your neighbor if he or she is in need. But how can you know that your neighbor is in need if you don't know your neighbor, right? If you don't have a relationship with your neighbor. So again, it comes to the relations. If we don't have personal relationship, we cannot really meet this teaching of Islam. It is difficult, right? In personal way. If you look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you see that his life is very relational, right? I think now it is acknowledged by historians. The details that we know about the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Muhammad, we don't know about any other historical figure. The companions, they reported, his companions, they reported almost all details, right? Even we have the hadith that says how many white hair he had in his beard, right? So that means the Prophet ﷺ, he was in a very close relationship. He had a very relational life, right? But when you think of our campus life, right? We live on a campus. Really, how to translate these teachings into a campus life? What does it mean to take care of your neighbor on a campus setup? But how we should translate these teachings of Islam into a campus life? Really, what does it, for example, the idea of being a good neighbor, when your friend posts something on Facebook, you like it, is it really a good way of being a neighbor? Or, your friend tweets something and you retweet his or her tweet, is it a way of saying you are a good neighbor, you are aware of the struggle of you? Might be, in the current context, it might be a good way. I mean, sometimes people, they get upset, they may get uncomfortable when they post something and then I don't see any reaction. If you have 1,000 friends, right? This might be a form of showing that you are a good neighbor, right? And the other thing is, although, with modernity, we can say, or with social media, that even the communication has been much more easier. We have, it is a great blessing, right, to have these tools, these devices in terms of communication. But there is also, some cases that might be a disadvantage because it creates a particular bubble. You have a bubble on your Facebook, you might have a bubble on your Twitter, and also on your campus setup, you might have your own bubble. And I think it is very, very important for us as a believer Muslims to really get out of our bubble, because the only way that we can know the struggles of other people, regardless of their background, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their race, regardless of their religion, is to get outside of our bubble and to have relationship with them, to have a person, to have a coffee. And I know it is always easier, more comfortable to be in your clique. I get along with this person, I share the same opinion, we have the same political view. But to what extent you make a particular effort to link yourself, to connect yourself with those who don't think like you, who come from different backgrounds, or in many ways maybe you cannot relate, but there should be a way for us to be able to connect with these people. Otherwise, just being in our, we have, part of the national conversation, we have Muslims, they have many issues, right? Or just not Muslims, in the larger community we have issues. And it would be really, if you want to make a change in these issues, we can start with this our local circle. Instead of, being, we may have many friends overseas, everywhere, in another state, but how is your connection, how is your relations in the context of the local community on campus? Ala Rasulina Muhammadin salawat, ask Allah for forgiveness. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم على رسولنا صلوات. Few years ago we had a gathering, a spiritual gathering, and I invited person who had, I would say, had lots of wisdom, a little bit over 70, a learned person also who had wisdom and lots of experience. And one of the students, they asked him a question. And his answer really still remains with me. And the student asked, what would you do differently if you would be in our age? It was on campus, it was a campus gathering. And his answer was that if I would be in your age, then I would make my life more relational. Because unfortunately, loneliness is the reality of our modern life. I don't know if you read in the news just last month, in England they appointed a minister for loneliness. Now there is actually a ministry of loneliness in England. And again, this might be part of another context, but we are not an exception. Our Muslim societies, communities are not an exception. We face the same issue, the same challenge. There are people who feel lonely, who feel excluded. And again, the responsibility, the duty, the task for us really is just to extend our hand, to connect. And we may think, well, I'm independent, I don't rely on anyone, I'm fine. If I need a ride, I can call Uber, you have your Uber. I can be very, very independent with my technology, with my resources, with my wealth, but eventually we need each other. And now actually there are studies. One of them is by Harvard University for almost a decade they did it, and now there is lots of scientific evidence that when your life is relational, it has a significant impact on how to deal with depression, for example, on your happiness, on your well-being. We talk about wellness. And one of the ways really is to make our life relations. Because, I mean, sometimes we have the tendency to say, okay, I need to help this, but actually when you are in this relation, you are helping yourself. It makes you happy, it makes you better, then it is good for your well-being. And also when you make your relations, and again I said this is a good way to make a change in the society, right? Muslims, they have their own problems, own issues. This is one of the way, and also it will help us to be, to teach the community, the larger community, about our issues, to learn from them, and also to teach them. And in some ways to cooperate, to work together. And again, there is a beautiful example in the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the story is known as Hilful Fudul, basically the League of Virtues. It is a story that comes, from before the prophecy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So before Islam, before he received revelation, wahi, apparently in the Meccan context, there is so much injustice, that there are problems, crimes, and actually the leadership of Mecca, they come together, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam included before his prophecy, to be part of this the League of Virtues, so that they can deal the issues of the society, the injustice in the society, in their community. And then after the revelation, actually at some point the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was asked, would he still be part of this league if we would have this, because it is with the believers like Mushrikun. And he said, yes, I will do it. And likewise, again, when we are part of these relations, it is, if there is an important cause that we can relate to it, and other people, they can relate to it, that we need to be part of these causes. And again, it begins with relations, with good relations, personal relations. And sometimes, again, we may say, well, it is difficult, I have so much work, I'm a graduate student here, I'm undergrad, I have so many programs, I have a full schedule. But eventually, in the Islamic context, we believe that we don't know whether we would get to tomorrow or not, right? We don't know. We don't know when angel of death will come and visit us. So the idea is that really only, the time that you have is this time. And then when we postpone our relations, that because I am busy, it's not a healthy way of dealing with our fellow human beings. And never forget that we are always in need of each other. We need each other. And there is a beautiful example. This is not very religious. A few years ago, the Washington Post ran an article. It was an article that says that help you to understand the world. And one of them was about Nutella, chocolate Nutella. I love it. So, and according to this, this map, so it gives you the map of Nutella, how they make Nutella. When you have a jar of Nutella on your table, how it comes to your table. So basically, in order to make Nutella, the ingredients, they get the resources from 4 different continents. For example, they get the palm oil from Malaysia, hazelnut comes from Turkey, cacao comes from Nigeria, sugar comes from Brazil, and vanillin comes from France. And of course, when you look at the distribution, actually it goes all over the world. In a way, thousands of people, if not millions, are involved in order to bring this little jar to your table. So the idea is that, and again, with modernity, we can say we are very independent. I don't need anyone. But we need, even with with a small, with a small jar of Nutella, you need so many people in order to enjoy maybe a teaspoon of Nutella. So the idea is really to acknowledge and to be mindful and take our relations seriously, because we all need each other. على رسولنا محمد الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. آمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. أقيموا السلام.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Let's keep the lines tight. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين. ولا تقولوا لمن يقتل في سبيل الله أموات بل أحياء ولكن لا تشعرون. ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Mm-hmm.